What's going on, beautiful people? Tonight's episode, we're going to go there, and I'm only going to say this once. I speak to you, I speak to myself. Let me say something that might bother some men. A lot of men say they want growth, but what they really want is validation. They don't want accountability. They want applause. Let that land. Welcome back. I trust you all have been well. I'm Law, author of Enunciate Your Needs. And today, we're talking about something that every man claims to value, but very few men actually practice. Accountability. Not fake accountability, not social media accountability, not, yeah, bro, I was wrong with that one, accountability. I'm talking about the kind that changes your life. Collectively, let's break the fourth wall. Because let's be honest, fellas, we will spend hours debating sports statistics. But ask a man to reflect on his emotional patterns. Crickets, folks are busy now. Growth sounds good in theory. It's buzzing now on social media. Everyone loves the word growth. Growth mindset, growth era, personal growth, ... But growth without accountability is just motivational entertainment. So, a main question that I would like us to discuss together is, why is accountability so difficult for men? I'll tell you one reason. Accountability threatens our ego. See, I've noticed something over the years. A lot of men can admit failure. We can, as long as they can blame something or someone else. Example, it was her fault, or the economy, or our upbringing, our boss, our friends. And listen, sometimes those are factors, don't get me wrong. But eventually, you have to ask yourself, where did I play a part? And what part did I play? See, some men don't reflect. They rebrand their dysfunction. Well, you're not inconsistent. You're just hard to read. You're not emotionally unavailable. You're just focused on the grind. You're not avoiding commitment. No. You are protecting your peace. That one was my favorite. Confront. No, my brothers, we're dodging accountability with better marketing. And quite frankly, it's taxing on us, is it not? Now let's address the fifth wall collectively. The real issue that's at play. See, accountability requires self-confrontation. And if you've been following along with this season, you understand the importance of confronting self. And a lot of men were never taught how to confront themselves. They were taught to suppress those feelings. I know that one very well. What are you crying for? They were taught to survive. They were taught to provide. They were taught to perform. But they were not taught to reflect. Now let's go deeper. This has been a conditioning of the male species. Little boys grow up hearing, man up, men don't cry, handle it. That's what we men do. And yes, that is what men do. Got that. But nobody teaches men how to process failure honestly. So when failure hits, all we're hearing in our mind and from our species is man up. You just got to deal with it. Sucks to be a man. And what happens? We know the suicide rate for men. It's high. I had a peer of mine recently send me a YouTube video today of a brother who, after going through his experiences, is just going down this red pill rage. Because in his experiences, I think the title was, They Don't Care About Us. And when he said us, he was talking about men. Not just men of color, just men. And he had a good 30-minute video regarding his experiences. And then what people see, either in real life or on social media, are men who are defensive, or men who are detached, or men who are angry. And they don't understand this emotion, this energy in motion. But it is conditioning that has got many men here. And I had to learn this myself. There were many moments in my life where I thought I was the victim, where I would point fingers at my upbringing, at my ex-wife, at a boss that I just felt was blocking me from my promotion that I thought I deserved, until I realized that I was also the contributor of my experience. And that is a hard realization, but a necessary one. So fellas, let me ask you something honestly. When was the last time you sat alone and evaluated your own patterns? Let that land. Not her patterns, not their patterns, yours. Because some of y'all, some of us keep dating the same woman. She just has a different hairstyle, a different complexion. The name's changed, but the dysfunction stayed the same. I had a friend recently say to me that I love toxicity. And initially at that comment, I was slightly insulted because I really felt that I was doing better. This was some months ago. I got to make that clear. But the more and more I thought on what they said, the more and more I reflected on what they said, I was able to land in their target area. And I was able to admit they're actually right. And I don't know how many of you have had this experience. Have you ever been in such deep meditation, or for some of y'all, ever been so high that you're looking at your partner, girlfriend, wife's face, and all of a sudden you start seeing her face transform into all the women that you've had in your life, until you've realized that it's not them, it's me, and that until I figure this out, I'm going to keep having this loop in this cycle. Accountability, reflection. When is the last time you sat alone with your cycles and with your patterns? Now, let's get into a framework. There are 3 levels of male accountability. Level 1, accountability to self. Fellas, can you tell yourself the truth? Examples. Can you tell yourself the truth when you were inconsistent? Can you tell yourself the truth when you lacked discipline? Can you tell yourself the truth when you ignored red flags? Can you tell yourself the truth when you communicated poorly? Fellas, growth begins when excuses end. Framework level number 2. Remember, there are 3 levels of male accountability. Second level, accountability to others. Can you admit when you hurt someone without deflecting, without minimizing, and without blaming? Accountability. Because a real apology doesn't explain away the damage. I had a good female friend of mine. After spending some time together, she understood that my intentions were to never hurt her. But she kindly brought to my attention that just as an accident occurs, that's why it's called an accident, that although my intention was not to hurt her, there were times that I did. And the way she illustrated it was, Lawrence, I know you love me, but sometimes you step on my foot accidentally, and I have the right to say, ow. That stung. Because even when she was telling me that, I remember the feeling of, but I didn't mean to step on you. And she caught me. She said, I know you didn't mean to step on me. I know it is not in your spirit, in your being, to want to ever do anything that can hurt me. But the reality is, sometimes it happens. And I'm not holding you to it. I'm just simply saying, ow. And that was one of the realest lessons that I had to accept of accountability and of learning how to apologize. Because inside of me, there was a part of me that did not want to say I'm sorry because it wasn't my intention. And I was trying everything in my power not to. But when she hit me with that illustration, it landed. And it took years for me to really develop that accountability skill, to apologize when necessary. I'm still working on it. Practice, right? Third step, accountability to your future. Now, this is the deepest level out of the 3. Fellas, ask yourself, can you become someone your future self would respect? Because every decision that we make either builds our future or delays it. And we are grateful to be present, are we not? But as we get older, what does our future look like? Now let's collectively break the 6th wall. Social media. or the social media culture. We live in a culture now where everybody wants healing without responsibility. Everybody's an empath. Everybody's protecting their energy. But nobody wants to admit, I might be the problem too. Now let's make a leadership connection. The quality of a man's life is directly connected to the quality of his self-awareness. Fellas, if you cannot correct yourself, life will. There's no running from it. Some men are stuck, not because they lack talent, but because they refuse correction. To our older men, our OGs, our uncles, stop teaching young men how to look successful without teaching them how to be accountable. To our older men, teach our younger men emotional discipline. Teach our younger men honesty. Teach them consistency and teach them integrity. And I understand. I have a nephew who is 21 years old. Bright young man he is. But I have noticed, and I'm sure I was this way too when I was his age, but I've noticed that it is hard at times to teach him without him being defensive. I do my best not to talk at him, but to talk with him and to ask him questions. But sometimes I just got to tell him what it is and trust that those seeds will grow when God waters them. I reconnected with a brother of mine recently, Mr. Addison Berry. It was good. And I forgot the plant that he mentioned, but he gave me a great analogy. He was like, you know, some seeds or some flowers do not bloom until a pressure or a force or an outside fire energy pushes them, forces them to pop. We're not aware of that force. We just appreciate the outcome, the bloom. So sometimes that force is necessary, and we all get to appreciate it after. And I mention that because to our older men, even though it may at times seem hard to communicate with our younger brothers, we have a responsibility. Our accountability is also to them, especially if we can recall not having such grace or not having such support when we were growing up. Why would we then do the same to the next generation? It's not fair. It's not right. It's not loving. You know what changed my life? When I stopped asking, why does this keep happening to me? And I stopped pointing fingers and I started asking, why do I keep participating in this? To be more simple, why am I doing this? Fellas, have you ever found yourself in a situation, a relationship, and you're shaking your head? You're wondering, why am I doing this? Let that question land and be honest with yourself. That question will change your life. And that's what's necessary. Accountability is not humiliation. Accountability is alignment. It's the moment your actions finally match your words. And it feels good. Because a man who avoids accountability avoids growth. But a man who can confront himself honestly becomes dangerous in the best possible way. Because growth doesn't begin when life exposes you. Growth begins when you do. Fellas, one more question, and I want you to sit with this one. And if you have a group of friends that you trust, have this conversation together. Ask each other this question. What was the hardest truth you ever had to admit about yourself? And be honest, because truth will set you free. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the ears. And I would love your feedback. Till the next time. Peace.